Hi again, Bren White with Caring 101. This is episode 4. And just a few thoughts for you today as we look into the process of caring. And I just want to challenge you with a few things, and then we'll pick up next time in a fairly fresh way and hear some things directly from somebody who knows the most about caring. But this time I want you to think about the people who have been the most encouraging to you. Now, this shouldn't be difficult. I hope it's not difficult. That would be a rough sign in terms of the life that you have led to this point. But there need to be encouraging people in your life, and you need to think about them, and you need to really consider how important they are to you. They are the source of much of your caring and nurturing as a soul. People who have lifted you up, encouraged you in some way, been positive or supportive in different ways at important times and junctures in your life. They are important. They've had an impact on you and on your living in a positive way. And so there's something that needs to happen. It has to do with thankfulness in terms of the meaning of this. You can't just let these things go by the boards and wash out with all the other nonsense and distraction in the world that means nothing. You really need to take hold of the relationships that mean something. The soul that opens and grows, that's what happens when it is cared for. A soul that is cared for, that's encouraged, that's lifted up, that's affirmed in some way positively, that soul grows. If that's not happening in somebody's life, a young person or somebody around you who's an adult, maybe who's had a difficult life, the soul, in order to grow, has to be cared for. And so it's a very deliberate thing. And this is why we're going to be talking next time about what the new topic is. It gets stuck. The heart gets stuck. The soul gets stuck if it is not cared for. If it's not growing, if a human being is not growing, not being cared for, that human soul gets stuck, gets hardened, gets fixated, and possibly even addicted in some negative ways, and isolates and closes off to others. Now, you know this is true from your own experience. You know that when you have been hurt by human beings, you need to protect yourself, and you draw back, you protect yourself in certain ways. You set boundaries, there is less trust, and so on. But you have to stay on the positive side of it. You have to realize that the thing that has been good has been the openness. When somebody has cared about you and risk saying positive things to you, to encourage you, that they are helping you to grow, and they're helping you to avoid getting stuck or hardened. And so I want to talk to you a little bit today about this openness thing, the meaning of it, and several other aspects of genuine caring. They involve being supportive in some way. They each have to do with learning, continuing to learn about others and not just being focused on ourselves. There is an openness that comes and especially when somebody feels cared about themselves. Now, this is a very interesting process. The way this is set up is if somebody has been hurt many, many times, it's hard for them to really continually and openly care about other people because they've started to protect themselves. And that has started, that isolation starts to harden you after a time, even though you're protecting yourself. So for life to be meaningful, it really has to be very personal, which means there has to be a certain openness, some vulnerability, some risk. And that is, it requires openness of heart, an openness of heart toward another human being. To be cared about requires being touched in some way, emotionally, spiritually, possibly in an affectionate way, but receiving somehow appreciation, affirmation, affection, nurturing from another human being of some sort. This is what is required for human beings to continue to grow and for them to be able to care about other human beings. If you're in the process of being hurt by everybody around you and you have no one to trust at all, you're going to be in a very, very difficult situation as a human being, and it's going to harm you to not have some caring human beings in your life, people that you can trust, that have some gentleness, some openness, and really care about you and want the best for you in some way, But without openness and gentleness, genuine caring is really quite impossible. Openness and gentleness. Now, I have to say at this point that, and we'll follow up next time, is that one of the people, the only people in the world to ever focus on this, was Jesus Christ. And he said to everyone around him, "Come, learn from me, because I am gentle and humble in heart." There was a certain openness, a certain humbleness, and therefore some trust, some honesty, some openness that is talked about all through the Bible, but we see it in the life, the very life of Jesus Christ. I find that fascinating and important, very important. This process of caring is very instructive in itself. When we listen openly and receive genuine caring from God and others, we grow spiritually and emotionally. That's the only time, really, when you and I are going to grow spiritually and emotionally as human beings. When we shut down and pull in the welcome mat, so to speak, we hurt ourselves. We're not just hurting other people or protecting ourselves only. We actually end up hurting ourselves. I'm saying this because I understand completely why, setting boundaries ends up sometimes taking away openness. And so we need to at least talk about this, explore this a little bit. The other thing connected to openness is this gentleness, because one of the things that makes humans trustworthy is that they genuinely are wanting to learn about this other person, not for advantage or to manipulate, but because they genuinely care about this person. And they have a certain gentleness as opposed to harshness. The people in the world generally are quite harsh, and they mistreat each other constantly. And that's why we're talking about Caring 101. So gentleness can only be learned from someone who is truly gentle. And that's why I mentioned Jesus Christ, because This is the way he started his teaching. Come learn from me, because I am gentle and humble in heart. The two things that human beings need the most, they need gentleness, to be treated with gentleness, open, honest, gentleness, somebody that they can end up trusting. And they need this openness that we talked about, which also is connected to honesty. But there's no learning. There's no learning without openness. You can't be shut off and be in a receiving mode. You actually have to be in a receiving mode, even in terms of being cared for. Some people are not receiving caring from people who really do care about them. And that's a travesty. That's a terrible waste, especially with all the human beings mistreating each other every day. It's terrible, really terrible. That's not what human beings are designed for. So how do we protect ourselves while keeping some openness of heart? And Jesus actually talks to us about this in terms of the priority of loving God with all of your heart, with all of who you are, and loving your neighbor as yourself. That's what Jesus Christ taught. So this is the actual axis. This is the basis for all healthy human caring. Is number one, you were created by a creator who cares. He made you in his image for an amazing reason, for an amazing purpose. You exist for an amazing purpose. And so he loves you for who you are. He cares about you. And he is the source of all genuine caring. And it just happens that Jesus Christ shows up talking about this and showing gentleness, humbleness of heart, openness himself as a human being to other human beings. But at the same time, he is starting with this caring, this love that God has toward us as being the basis for caring genuinely and openly about the people around us. Otherwise, it's quite difficult, if not impossible. Caring about people that can be very cantankerous, sometimes dangerous. You need footing. You need a certain footing for that. And it happens that the one who cares about you most is also the most consistent, the most reliable source and source of caring for you. This is something to do with the faithful love of God and God's faithfulness being new every morning with you, present every morning when you wake up. These things are very, very important learnings. So back to what we were saying earlier, you and I need to be supportive of each other. We need to be open, talking openly about some things, honestly about some things, and really comforting each other, being gentle in the way we speak the truth in love to each other, lifting each other up. This is what's talked about throughout the New Testament, in the Bible in particular. Now, one last thing I'll leave you with from Milton Mayroff, who wrote the book on caring. He says, humility is present in caring in several ways. Caring involves continuous learning about the other. So this is one of the first things. When you're caring, you're caring about others. You're putting attention on learning about other people and ways to help them, ways to support them, ways to encourage them, ways to lift them up. You're doing that instead of just focusing on yourself and your miseries and your pain and your challenges and a lot of negative stuff that's not helpful to anyone. So this learning about the other, continue the quote, there is always something more to learn about the people around you, about loved ones. They're people that you've known for a while. I guarantee you there are things that you don't know about them. And you need to get creative asking questions so that you really get to know them, continue to get to know who they are so that you can love them properly, care about them properly, encourage them in an effective way. He continues on, he says, the person who cares is genuinely humble in being ready and willing to learn more about the other and himself and what caring involves. So part of this openness even has to do with realizing I need to keep learning. I need to keep learning about the people around me. I need to keep learning about myself and about caring, how to care for other human beings. And this is a great place to end off today. I hope that all these things challenge you sufficiently and that you are able to make progress in caring for the people right around you and those that you come in contact with every single day. All right, we'll see you next time. Keep going. All righty, bye-bye.